Healthcare is a biggie in this country today. Obamacare was a Republican concept written by, for, and of the drug and insurance companies to protect their profits. For three-quarters of a century, the public has wanted a national health care program. Poll after poll showed it. The donors spoke louder than the voters. That, by the way, is why you should vote for me. I don't take any money. The insurance companies are a $500 billion a year parasite that we should exterminate. They lower the speed and quality of care. The Republican plan didn't even exist because they just used Obamacare as a fundraiser for 7 years. When they surprised themselves and won the presidency, they had to scramble to come up with something, anything. They instinctively went to their playbook and came up with a tax cut for billionaires, paid for by tossing 22 million people into the street to die. Trump told you he would sign anything they put in front of him just to say he did. They wanted to get this tax cut for billionaires done so they could get to their real agenda, tax cuts for billionaires via the tax code. The U.S. is by far and away number one in the world in cost and 37th in quality in health care. We're the only industrialized country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all of its citizens as a right. Capitalism is why. It has no place in health care. The American people don't want it and are suffering and dying because of it. Let me tell you why it's so bad. I had a pain in my hip. I waited for it to heal a while, and it got worse. I finally went to an orthopedist at Orland & Cohen, a big practice on Long Island. He told me I had to have a hip replacement. I knew I wanted to avoid that. I asked what less drastic step he had, and he insisted I needed a full hip replacement. It's a cure for what ails you, he says. It has a 97% success rate. I asked what happens when the other 3% have the hip removed and it fails. He wouldn't answer me. I said I wanted to speak to his partner for a second opinion, and I said, "Don't tell your partner about my case." At the appointment, his partner walked in and said, "My partner told me about your case." He never looked at me or my records and insisted I needed a total hip replacement. I went to 2 other orthopedists, including the Hospital for Special Surgery in New York City. They're supposed to be the best in the world. I walked into each one and I said, "We are not doing a hip replacement. What else do you have?" "You need a total hip replacement." I finally found a Dr. Dashif in Westbury. He doesn't take insurance. He looked at my records and said, "You don't need surgery of any kind. Get busy in the weight room and do a lot of stretching, and we'll see where you are in 3 months. Maybe you need something, maybe you don't." I got heavy into yoga and weightlifting, and 6 weeks later, I was playing basketball 3 times a week with no problem. About the worst thing you could do on a bad hip. 5 years later, I'm fine. These guys make $50,000 or $60,000 a hip. How many people in this country got joint replacements they didn't need last month? Lots of them. Let me tell you a better one. 25 years ago, I stood in the back of an auditorium in Las Vegas and listened to a drug company executive tell 1,500 people that every child in America needs to be medicated. They cheered. Because if you get a child used to taking a pill every day at 6 years old, that child will take a pill for something every day for the rest of his life. The drug cartel in this country is no different than the one in Mexico. They bribe politicians to keep it legal to sell American-made and packaged drugs for more to you than they do in other countries. Ending this is at the top of my wish list. We need a research unit that does pure science. No $24 million a year CEO, no lobbying budget, no marketing budget, no need for a profit, and drugs could literally cost 3% of what they do now. Problem solved. Not only that, but you have always been told that competition spurs innovation. Nonsense. It actually kills it. You have 23 companies trying to change one molecule so they can call it a new drug and start to market it, and they spend 19 times on marketing what they do on research. They duplicate each other's work, and if there were one unit, they could share information instead of hide it from each other. And we could do much more with less money. When you have corporate rule of a country, a reason they don't want universal health care is so that people will say, at least I have a job, and pass up raises because they're terrified of not having insurance. It also makes them scared to leave a job. This is well thought out. Medicare for All is a great template. It uses 3% overhead, and insurance companies average close to 40%. But politics in this country is played in a narrow zone. Giving 20 million more people a bad insurance-based system is viewed as a major step. We need to unshackle a lot of small minds here and catch up with what the rest of the world's been doing better than we are. We need to change the mindset because capitalism is literally killing us.